Sheldon, Jason Quick, Dwight Jaynes, Orlando Williams here with you as we try and break down this one. Look, it was a promising beginning to this game for the Blazers, up by 8 early in this one, but things started to fall apart there. We'll talk about the early struggles in a second, but I think we want to focus on what happened in the fourth quarter, and that was Anthony Davis, a guy that was a non-factor because of injury in the first 2 games of this series this year, was a huge one in this one. What happened and why couldn't they contain AD?
Well, Portland never had anyone big enough to keep him away from the rim. They just kept throwing lob passes, and they killed him.
Yeah, he realized real quick in the fourth quarter if he can just get any kind of inside position at all. They played the game over Aminu's head. They were throwing the ball to him, lobs and even bounce passes, sometimes high enough. And Aminu's powerless to do anything about that. He's just not big enough to stop him.
They gave, and let's say Alvin Gentry is the quarterback for the Pels, and it's a football game. They gave him too much time to figure out the defense of the Trailblazers. Anthony Davis was evaluating Al-Farouq Aminu and the defensive sets of the Trailblazers all night long. And ultimately, in the fourth quarter, those last 10 minutes, it caught up with them.
Yeah, you saw Davis's fourth quarter numbers there up on the screen. 16 points on 7 of 8 shooting. The rest of his team in the fourth quarter was just 4 of 12 from the field. So here's a guy who was carrying the load for them. And you wondered if Terry Stotts might pivot because we saw the way the game started. We saw a lineup shift because of Evan Turner's illness. He's gone, not available to play in the 3 spot. So what do? We thought maybe during Rip City Live they'd go bigger to account for the big front court. Instead, they keep Aminu at the 4. And they get smaller by bringing in Shabazz Napier. What do you think about that move?
Mistake, error. I think an error in judgment and assessment. Have you forgotten? Anthony Davis is 7 feet and shoots over 7-footers, so you put a 6'9" guy on him, he's going to have a field day. It's almost like they forgot who he was.
Yeah, I go back to the start of the game when Terry Stotts had a great opportunity to go big with Evan Turner sitting out. This was the night to start a big, either Myers Leonard or Zach Collins. And obviously it's not going to be Myers Leonard. He's on the shelf for the rest of the season, it appears, unless somebody, 2 or 3 guys probably get hurt. But I think you got to go big, and I know he doesn't like to go big. He wants to play small all the time. It really did hurt him in the fourth quarter. Before that, they were able to keep pace, and if they'd have made a few more threes, they could have covered it up, but they didn't.
Yeah, this season, his best lineup has been that 3-guard lineup, and I think he got kind of lulled into a comfort zone with those 3 guards at the same time. So I think he went with what he was comfortable with, and he paid for it.
Yeah, you look at that 3-guard lineup, and look, they had their positive moments. Shabazz Napier did have positive moments out there, but you just wonder at the end of the day if going small was going to be the best option for them down the stretch. Because early on, it worked out okay. The starter versus starters in that first stretch, that first rotation to open up the game, they were just fine. So maybe he looks at that sample size and says, hey, it worked to begin this game. Why can't it work down the stretch?
You know why it doesn't work down the stretch?
Please tell me.
Is because if you've got DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis protecting the paint, the guards are always going to defer to trying to open up the game with threes. Well, those 3 guys went 9 for 26. If they go 9 for 26, then the strategy after the first 12 minutes of the game changes. And if you don't adjust with it, you're stuck.
Well, and the other thing that happens is the Blazers are starting basically 3 point guards. They go to the bench. They don't have a fresh point guard to bring in. So you're talking about a lot of guys off the bench not getting opportunities they might have gotten had Shabazz been playing with them. So I think it hurts their performance a little bit. And the bench, quite frankly, tonight was terrible.
That's a great point, Dwight.
You see the bench numbers right there. Minus
well,
19 for Zach Collins, minus 18 for Ed Davis, minus 16 for Maurice Harkless, and Pat Connaughton a -5 when it was all said and done. Look, plus-minus numbers give you some window into the world. We know they're very much imperfect, but in this case, it lets you know where the game truly was controlled in the middle parts. When the bench came in, the struggles began for the Blazers, and then Anthony Davis closes the door in the fourth quarter. All the 3-point shots.
Yeah.
12 of 42 when it's all said and done. A season high in 3-point attempts for Portland on 29%.
Yeah, and I think they were just daring Portland to shoot it, particularly Al-Farouq Aminu, and he went 3 for 9. Dame, 2 for 11. I think that was the way New Orleans was, their game plan was to make Portland beat them with the 3-point shot. And just one of those nights where Portland couldn't hit.
I think they were playing with fire, the Pels were. I really do. I think that strategy is a desperation strategy against a team like the Trailblazers, because you look at those looks, those are wide open, but they're not even close. I mean, Pat Connaughton, who typically shoots the ball well, hits the side of the backboard. That doesn't happen. I think the Pels, they got away with one.
Yeah.
They snuck one in this particular match.
The Blazers aren't going to shoot 29% from three very often. If they even get it up to 33%, they probably win the game.
Blazers lose their second straight now, 22-20 on the season. New Orleans improves to 21-20. Hey, a reminder for the Blazer fan in your life that doesn't have access